Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Pagey here, once again with another video on Arrow Season 5, and this is going to be my review for Episode 8 of Arrow Season 5, which is also the second part of the 3-part crossover story, and it's also the 100th episode of Arrow, so this is just insane. So obviously going ahead, spoiler warning if you have not seen the episode, because we're obviously going to be going into some spoilers. And this review is going to be a bit different because I am sort of going to go over points in more detail, so it's going to sound like more of a breakdown than a review, but it's the 100th episode. Come on, it's special. But as I said, it is the 100th episode, massive achievement for Arrow. Like, it's been a long road. I've been here since day one watching it. As soon as the first episode was available to watch, I watched it. I've been a Green Arrow fan ever since I started reading comic books. He is my favorite character. So Arrow has always been a show that's been really close to me. And even when Season 4 was as bad as it was, I still tried to stick as strong to the show as I could. And now that Season 5 is back on that track, this episode just felt extremely special. So the intro with all the Arrow logos was just so cool. I thought they might have done something because it's the 100th episode. So I was happy that they did do that. If you didn't notice it, go watch the episode again. It happens pretty quickly, but all the different Arrow logos from all the different seasons like morph together. Now obviously because it is the crossover episode, we did have Flash people involved. Like Legends people weren't involved really, it was like Cisco and Barry really. But we did have Cisco meeting Curtis, which is one thing a lot of people wanted to see. And they even had an in-joke where like Curtis was like referencing movies and Cisco goes, "Oh, the tech guy referencing movies, how original," which I thought was funny. We did get to see Wild Dog's like dislike for the superpowered people. Because like ever since Barry, became a metahuman, all these different metahumans, have come up and they've been pretty evil. And he just said, having powers is basically being evil. Even though he does get saved by Barry, so he sort of has to be like, okay, there is good metahumans and they do help people. Obviously we had the dream reality going on throughout this episode. We got to meet Robert and Moira again, which was, it hit you straight in the feels, didn't it? Like, just learning what Oliver's gone through over these 5 seasons and just seeing these two people that were so influential in his story, it just hit you in the feels, as I've said before, and yeah, got a bit emotional, didn't it? There was like little parallels to the pilot, especially when like Ollie like reflex catches what the maid dropped. If you remember I'm pretty sure it was in the pilot, like season 1, episode 1, that same thing happens. They had like the Black Canary logo, like the official one, on Laurel's necklace that Ollie gave her, which I thought was an extremely nice touch. It was actually pretty cool that Robert Queen was the mayor-elect of Star City, and he wanted Ollie to take his position at Queen Consolidated. They even dropped Walter Steele's name as well, which I thought was pretty cool. They also had Smoke Technologies there, which became like a big portion of the episode, like the center point in which the team had to get to escape this reality. It was really trippy with like Ollie and all the different characters remembering stuff from the actual reality compared to this dream reality. Especially when Ollie starts seeing like Laurel as she is in this dream reality and then seeing her like she was just before she died in Arrow Season 4 with like the hospital gown and stuff. So I thought that was pretty damn cool. It was strange seeing Captain Lance and Ollie being on such good terms in this reality. They were like best buddies. It made me mad emotional when Lance said how proud he was of Oliver because, the journey that they've gone on through seasons 1 to 5, Lance hating him and then sort of starting to appreciate him and then going back to hating him and stuff like that. It just felt good that they were in this situation where, they were just like a normal two dudes just having a chat. Now in this dream reality, Diggle is the Hood/Arrow, which was pretty interesting with Felicity helping him, so that didn't really change, I guess. Now Diggle's suit was like a mixture of the past season's suit, like he had the season 1 to 3 hood, like the one that Ollie had on the island, but then like the actual rest of his suit looked like the season 5 one, I think. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Outside of the dream reality, we had new Team Arrow meeting Flash and Supergirl. Even though their scenes were brief, I guess that was pretty cool. One thing I was really looking forward to in this episode was Thea hanging out with Moira again, and it was quite emotional, especially when Thea starts seeing Moira's death and stuff like that. So all these scenes were like past characters and meeting current characters that they used to interact with. It was just great and really hit you in the feels, which it was one of the goals for this episode. Like, they were definitely setting out to do that. Obviously, we had Ollie declaring his love for Laurel. As I said, this is a dream reality. This is like what would happen if Oliver didn't go on the Queen's Gambit, if his life didn't change so dramatically and he lived a normal, happy life. And obviously that would have continued on with, him staying with Laurel, getting married with Laurel, living on in his entire life with Laurel. So it's good to see that Ollie admitted that, if you know what I mean. It was cool seeing Deathstroke appear, which obviously it wasn't like he just, in this reality Deathstroke would appear. It's like the Dominators were using stuff to, keep them in this reality and stop them trying to escape. So yeah, Marnie Bennett didn't appear, which was a bit disappointing, but it would have been hard for them to get him, like he was doing other stuff. So I can understand why they just had a dude in a mask. The Flash and Supergirl team up against that electric lady, I don't know what her name was, I didn't really care. It was pretty cool, obviously it's where they saved Wild Dog, but it wasn't that amazing if you know what I mean. They obviously had that nod to the actor who played Tommy, which is Colin Donnell's role on Chicago Med when they said he's a doctor in Chicago. I thought that was a great reference, and it would have been difficult for them to get him on the show and play Tommy because he is on another show that is filming at the same time as Arrow. But I thought that was a great reference. Obviously, we had Ray Palmer engaged to Felicity in this timeline, so that was interesting, I guess. Now, that scene in the party where Ollie says goodbye to his parents and Thea has to be convinced to leave, it had me crying. I'm not ashamed to say that. It had me crying. Being such a big fan of the show, as I've said, having these connections with these characters and knowing what these characters' connections are to characters such as Robert and Moira, they're really strong and you really feel a connection there. So when Stephen Amell, who obviously plays Oliver Queen, is crying, you connect with him and you want to cry as well. So I thought it was great by both Stephen Amell and Willa Holland, who plays Thea. I thought they did great in that scene. Even though I thought Thea's random turnaround of oh no, I'm going to come, don't worry, was a bit random, but I can understand if they needed to rush that. But apart from that, it was really, really good. The fight scene against Merlin, Deathstroke, Damien Dark, the Ghosts, and the Mirakuru soldiers was awesome. Thea got to kill Malcolm, Sarah got to kill Damien Dark, and Ollie finally killed Deathstroke with an arrow through the eye again. So cool, and it was just awesome to see. But once again, they hit you in the feels. They love doing this. That Laurel farewell scene was a killer. It was a damn killer, and it's interesting. I'm not going to spoil anything, but just wait for episode 9 and 10 of Arrow this season. Obviously, the mid-season finale next week. We're going to see some stuff which might lead on from that. But damn, this episode was emotional, wasn't it? And that emotional trip continued when those holograms appeared, trying to keep Ollie back in this reality. We had Tommy, Roy, and Laurel as a few of them. Just another punch in the feels. I wasn't expecting that, especially seeing Tommy and Roy. I was not expecting that. Obviously, they were just holograms. They weren't actually the actors there, but I thought that was awesome. The escape scene from the Dominator ship was pretty cool, and they got saved by Nate on the Wave Rider. Amaya, who is Vixen, should be on the ship, but they didn't show her. But obviously, Nate Haywood and Oliver Queen had interacted earlier, and they also had Ray and Sarah, who are a part of the Legends. But overall, this episode was amazing. I love this episode. I think I might have to take time to process, watch both episodes again, but I enjoyed this episode more than yesterday's episode of The Flash. And I think it just comes down to the fact that I'm a huge Arrow fan. I love Arrow. Honestly, season 1 and 2 of Arrow, I think, are the best seasons of the CW TV shows. And I think Flash just goes ahead because season 3 and 4 of Arrow weren't that impressive. So being such a big fan of Arrow and having this episode, which I've said it on Twitter, is just a love letter to the show, is just amazing. I think I enjoyed this episode more than the Flash episode. But as I said, I'd probably have to watch both episodes again to give a final verdict on that. But at this moment, I love this episode. Had the feels, got some characters back that we hadn't seen for a while, and definitely showed a side to Ollie that I don't think we'd seen in a while, especially his interactions with Robert, Moira, and Laurel, which I thought was great. But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, it'd be very, very much appreciated. If you could leave a like on it, let me know in the comment section below. Did you enjoy this episode as much as I did? What was your favorite part? And are you excited for the closing portion of this crossover on Legends of Tomorrow? And if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.